Benarge Igwe, and I am the Director of HR and Special Projects at FSNNY, Family Services Network of New York. So I was born in a small island in the Caribbean called Trinidad and Tobago. Was raised there for about 6 years and transitioned to Canada. My father decided to move the family after his schooling, so we went to Canada for the rest of the time. I was maybe from 6 till 18. As a teenager, I was one of those kind of nerdy jocks. Like, I played sports, but I was a big dork. You know, I loved cartoons, I loved playing games, I loved video games, So for me, I enjoyed a lot of time, with my friends and out in the parks and just doing a lot of things that were fun, but also really like gamer type things. It kind of kept me out of trouble. And I was really athletic at the time as well, so I kind of combined that with playing basketball and football. My brothers growing up, they played basketball, so it was really easy to get into that sport. Didn't have much of handles, but I had a good jump shot, so I was always an asset to their teams. Had to develop that over time, but I kind of had a big balance of sporting as well as video game type of stuff when I was a teenager. Role models. So a big role model for me was Michael Jordan, just because I liked his work ethic. At the time I didn't really know much about his other personal problems, but I only saw what he did on the court, and the way he would rally his teammates, the way him and Scotty would just be 1 and 2 and be able to play off each other. They both played great defense, they both played great offense. It's kind of a good lesson in life where sometimes you have to be balanced. You can't just be great at one thing, you have to be great at all things. And Michael was a perfect example of that. So he was a really, really big influence for me back in the day. And I'd say another one would be Tony Gonzalez. He's a tight end, plays for the Chiefs. He's retired now, he's played for the Chiefs. And something about his game was just so interesting. He revolutionized the tight end position. He was a guy who had great work ethic, but also had athleticism, because he played basketball in college. So I kind of liked the fact that he was able to transition from sports to sports, from basketball to football, just because he had a work ethic and he had a skill set that was just comparable in both areas. So those two guys, I think, were definite role models for me when I was growing up and even till now. Well, when I first moved here for college, it was a shell shock for me because in Canada, the school system is very different. The teachers are a lot more involved in your life. They try to kind of get into your personal life, and they're always there. They're very friendly, very like whatever you think a Canadian would be. That's kind of what they were growing up. Coming to the States though, not knowing anybody, not having that type of network, it was difficult because I had to make new friends. Didn't really know how things were here. And a lot of the things that I used to say in Canada didn't really make sense in America because we said like "hey" and all that kind of stuff, and that just wasn't a good start. People would make fun of me for that, which was good though because it kind of got me to realize that cultures are different, and not because of just because of location, not because of who people are. So that was interesting. But in college, the fact that I played basketball kind of helped to get me through some of those awkward conversations and interactions with people, because I would just go to a basketball park and I'd just play, and before I knew it, I'd meet some people, and then I'd go to school, go to campus, pick up basketball game, meet some few people there, and before you know it, I'm seeing them in the cafeteria, seeing them in my classes. So I was able to kind of transition from Canada to America because I played sports and I was involved, and I met a lot of people, good people through that. So that was a really good transition. And in college, it was different. A lot of the folks from college were from everywhere. In Canada, it's a very small population. You got, Canadians are mainly Asians, Caribbean folk, East Asians, but America is like everybody. So you were able to kind of get interacting with, Latinos, with, folks from South America, folks from Australia. Like, I had friends from everywhere when I came to school in the States, and I liked that because it gave me a little bit more understanding of how close we actually are, even though we're not close. Like wherever distance we're far, but people are people no matter where you're from. So it was really good to see that, and I think going to school in the States was a really good example of that because I had friends from everywhere. So I was one of the fortunate ones. When I graduated college, I was already thinking about what to do next, and I had a bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in finance. So I knew I wanted to be in some type of financial anything. I just didn't know what that would be. Luckily for me, I had volunteered to work in a call center for a securities firm for 2 months prior to me graduating. So I was able to kind of get my feet wet. And the company was MetLife Securities. They were my first employer. I made calls and appointments for their advisors when I was in college, and when I graduated, I started with the life and health exam and the Series 6 and 63, and that got me propelled into a financial services representative position there. So literally, I graduated from college, and because I had worked in the call center at this firm, I was able to transition into a financial advisor. So it was pretty cool. That was my first job. I worked there for 5 years. Learned a lot, but one of the things going in there was that the population was predominantly Caucasian and maybe 45, 55, so it didn't look like me. And I had to kind of take that Michael Jordan approach and say, you know what, just be good at what you're doing. Regardless of what the environment says, just you come in with your set of values, no matter what anyone else thinks, and you make a difference. And that's what happened. A lot of the advisors back then didn't really jump to work with me, not because of anything, but because they had their own personnel, beliefs. But I decided to put myself out there, and I said, hey guys, I'd love to book appointments for you. That was a job that I had before I became an advisor. Let me book maybe 10 appointments for you a week, and if that's the case, maybe we can go on joint calls. And that worked. It was a strategy that wasn't, no one else did that, but I decided to try something new, and I was good at making phone calls. I was good at booking appointments for members. So we did that, and as these advisors started seeing me book appointments for their colleagues, they were like, wait a minute, Benarge, maybe we should work with him because he can get us appointments. And it became an exchange of talent for, services, and that's what happened. After my first and second year, those were my toughest years, but after I kind of broke through and people saw that there was something that I could do for them, it was much easier for me to kind of work with some of the advisors that were already there. And by the time I left, I can go back to MetLife right now, and they would welcome me with open arms because we had such a good rapport in that office. Our MDs were great, our supervisors were great. They taught us a lot, and we became a family, in my opinion. So that's why, I think when you're going into an environment that may not look like you, it's important for you to bring something to the table. Don't just come there expecting anyone to do anything for you. Do something for them. Do something for the folks with the talents that you have, and let them come to you. And that's one thing I learned in that first job was just, you can do it. It's just a matter of being creative, not letting the environment dictate how your success will look, and making sure that you take it one step at a time. You're not supposed to make $1 million in your first job, but you're supposed to build skills and tools that can help you attain that level when you get there. It may not be a day, it may not be a month, it may not be a year, it could be 5 years, but as long as you're improving the entire time, you're going to be in good shape. And that's what that company really was preaching. You're building a business, you're building a book of business, it's a brand, you're building yourself. So take the time to build it the right way, because your reputation is all you have. If you build it wrong, it'll be wrong until you fix it. So that's a little bit about my first employer. So the transition from financial services advisor to human resources was interesting because as a financial service rep, I worked with a lot of companies and we did some group benefits. So we would do group life insurances for executives. We would do different policies. We would broker with health insurance companies to kind of help get our clients the best products that we had available. So I was able to kind of see how to save money by shopping different plans and making sure that companies had a cohesive benefit structure. So when the opportunity presented itself to come to Family Services Network, the first thing I thought of was, okay, how can I save these folks money? Do they have any redundant policies that may not need to be around anymore? And I found that there was a lot, so I was able to kind of go in there and clean up a little bit of the benefits aspect of the company and save them a bunch of money the first year I was here. And that was something that really spoke volumes. I mean, for me, I didn't want to just accept a job just because maybe I may have known someone in the company or not, or maybe someone told me about this position. For me, it was like, no, what value can I bring to this opportunity? Regardless of how I may have heard about it or who I may know that's there, I wanted to bring value upfront, and that's the first thing I did at FSN. So I was able to come in here and learn from the previous human resources personnel that was here. She taught me everything I needed to know, and it was a lot of the stuff that I learned in school as well, but I didn't actually work in human resources prior to this, so I had to do some training, and I had to join SHRM and get the tools in place so that I knew how to do this job properly, but it took a while. It took me maybe a year to kind of get my feet wet into how to be a proper human resources person, whether that's interviews, doing the personnel files, making sure that compliance was on point, making sure that we were up to date with all the different rules and regulations just for EOC. All of that stuff took me a while to get to, but you build the tools, and the goal is to kind of keep growing them. So That transition was easy in the beginning because I just did what I was used to doing as a financial advisor. But then once I finished that, and doing the actual day-to-day, that's when I had to adjust and transition. And that took time. It took time, and it took leadership. It took guidance from Ms. Igwe, who helped me with that. But that's how it goes. You got to learn from somebody, and you got to make sure that you add to the table as well. So that transition was pretty interesting, and it's still happening now. You're still learning every day. What I like about human resources is that it allows for personnel and employees to feel like someone has their back. A lot of times we're looking at corporate America and we're looking at these big companies, and we feel sorry for the little guy. We feel sorry for the employees who have to just take whatever the big bosses say. And for me, human resources is that catalyst that helps to change that dynamic, where it's no longer you're working for a company, but the company's working for the staff. They're working for the employees. You're only as good as your staff, and any services organization is only as good as the people that they hire. So for me, I feel like human resources is so critical. Not only are you bringing in and screening top talent, but you're also trying to manage the people who are here and their emotions. We're in a not-for-profit. We work in human services. There's a lot of stress in a job like this. There's a lot of difficult interactions with the folks that we serve, and it's hard because it's an emotional position. So being able to manage the emotions of the staff and making sure that their needs are met and that they have plans that reflect the needs that they have, and that we're thinking about their health and we're thinking about the things that their families need. HR is doing that. That's what the job of HR is, to listen, to hear what the staff is looking for, and find creative ways of solving that without costing the company a lot of money to do it. So it's a good balance. You get to make a difference. You get to help the people who are doing the hard work, but you also get to position the company in a way where the company is serving the staff. And I think a lot of organizations going forward are going to be taking that approach, because if the staff are serving the company and that's all that's happening, it's a one-way relationship, they're going to get burnt out and they're going to leave. So, it's important for HR to be that in between, where you're doing for the staff and you're also doing for the company, and make sure that both meet in the middle in a place where they're both winning. The advice that I'd give to a young person who is looking to kind of get through difficult situations and achieve their goals, I would say it starts with you. Everyone has a different circumstance. I was in a very difficult situation when I was growing up, but I turned to my family, I turned to my friends, I turned to things that were of interest to me, and not everyone has the same interests. So the first thing I'd say is just try to find a part of you that you really enjoy. Find something that you love doing that you would do for free and let that be your relief, because a lot of times we don't have a place to go that's safe, a place to go mentally that's safe, where we can just go and do something, enjoy ourselves, and then get back to the difficulty of whatever that life was that you're living. Everyone's got a different challenge, but for me, basketball was that. When I was frustrated, even till now, if I'm frustrated with something that happened at work or with something happened in a relationship, I'll go and play basketball. And I am, when I'm finished, I get to release all of that tension and that stress. So that's one thing that helped for me. But basketball for me was sort of like a meditation. It was a way for me to get away from the difficulties that I was experiencing on a day-to-day and find my own little peace. So I would say, try to find something that you enjoy. Try to find something that you enjoy doing, and make sure that you incorporate that into everything else that you're about. The second thing I'd say is, surround yourself with people who are trying to do what you're trying to do. I don't care what part of the world you live in or what community you live in, there are going to be individuals in that community who want to accomplish the same things you want to accomplish. You are the average sum of the people that you surround yourself with. Look at who you surround yourself with, and if you don't like the direction that those folks are moving in, you may want to surround yourself with different people. Because for me, my core friends, I have 4 friends that hold me down, and they keep me accountable. If I'm straying off my path, they bring me right back on. If they're straying off, it's my job to bring them back. Why? Because we were all moving in the same direction. So the average sum of the people that you surround yourself with is what you'll be. So for me, I would say surround yourself with folks who are trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. 1, 2, find your peace, find your place, find something that you enjoy doing that is just your place, your specific thing that you enjoy and that you love, and incorporate that into your lifestyle, because you need to balance. Life is about being able to find balance, and I think those 2 things, no matter what your environment, will help you achieve any goal you want. So my name is Benarge Igwe. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Continue to pursue your dreams and stay awesome.